Alright everyone, we start off talking today about a story I think is a close number 2 behind internet censorship really right now as to how important it is as a societal issue, and yet almost nobody is talking about it or cares about the issue. And that's the concept of the space race, which is back in vogue for the first time since the end of the Cold War. Now, first and foremost, if you're watching on YouTube, there will be a pinned comment and links in the description, obviously, on the video to other video hosting sites that I use. Remember, in not that long, I will be making fully half of my content solely not on YouTube. It'll be alt tech exclusive, plus Daily Motion. Technically not alt tech at all, but I upload there as well. You should join me on one or more of those platforms. And remember, I make exclusive content as well on BitChute. This is about Beijing Biden's attacks on the space program. Now, we've seen this in two forms over the last decades, and Trump creating the Space Force. Did you notice that the concept of the Space Force as a commendable idea is now even codified and enshrined by Biden's people? Like some people, I'm sure, expected them to dismantle the concept. It's actually a really, really good one. You can think that it sounds like a little bit, like, ha ha ha, it's kind of funny. It's like a meme or something. Oh, yeah, it's going to have like lasers and shit. It's very real. We should be extremely concerned about China making progress, especially in the space race, and I'll tell you why. I think that it is virtually inevitable that there will be a war over space in general, over supremacy over space and tangential to politics, geopolitics on the surface of the Earth. Here's why. Eventually, somebody, unchecked by any other power, because it's kind of hard to attack things in space, is going to weaponize space. It's not something that any country wants explicitly to do under former agreements. I think it was in the 1970s they made an agreement that everyone basically has signed off on. Every nation with the ability to put a satellite up has signed on to an agreement not to weaponize space. The problem is there's really, unless you have extreme amounts of cooperation between countries, like you think of like Russia and the US working together even during the Cold War on space projects. Unless there are multiple different groups of people keeping tabs on what's going up and what's coming down, at some point China, for example, because it has limitless centrally allocated resources, could put a lunar colony up there, arm the lunar colony, and potentially use that to launch attacks on the United States and its allies. The problem is that MAD at that point breaks down and almost begs a nuclear war. Because the problem is this, and I've talked about MAD breaking down before and how it's started. We're in a no-win situation with regards to nukes. The genie's out of the bottle already, and we're probably eventually long-term doomed because of it. The problem is that the only countermeasure to nuclear weapons, having a second strike at least deterrent. The problem is that once a nation with nukes manages to develop an effective enough countermeasure to nukes, MAD breaks down and other countries are forced into an impossible no-win situation. They either attack preemptively, causing a nuclear war, which nobody wins, or they don't attack, they back off, the grand chessboard gets put away, the game is over. That country becoming victorious is capable of subjugating everyone else, literally annihilating other countries that do not do what they wish them to do without facing significant enough repercussions to keep them from doing so. The same could extend to space. If you had a weaponization of space, again, let's say that China manages to land rockets on a large asteroid, pushes it into position so it's, roughly orbiting the Earth, like a little miniature moon. Could they not potentially use that as a massive weapon that would transcend even a large nuclear weapon? A large enough asteroid moved out of its proper space in space and used as a weapon would be 10,000 times worse than a nuke. You could annihilate an entire country with one hit. Would it be costly? Yeah. Would it require huge amounts of technology? No, of course. Should the United States be the one to do so first? Yeah. I think I would rather have a world that at least has the facade of some semblance of liberty, as opposed to a world run by China where the very concept of freedom is not only not necessarily applauded, but even excoriated from the culture itself, even at the linguistic level. There is a difference between Western civilization and the mentality of communism and things like that. Yes, one of them is indeed superior to the other. I like how people who are communists or whatever like to muddy the waters, and they'll say like, well, yeah, China's doing some shitty shit, but look at what the United States has done. Again, there's really no comparison. Chairman Mao alone was the greatest killer of communists of all time, mostly through incompetence. Remember that when they decided to get rid of all the sparrows because they kept eating some of the peasants' corn, but then the sparrows were also eating bugs and there were huge locust swarms and several tens of millions of people starved? It wasn't a problem to Mao because under communism, of course, everyone is roughly interchangeable. The problem is that there are so many ways to weaponize space. Once a country has developed a post-second strike capability, wherein they could potentially debilitate an enemy nuclear stockpile, do so very, very quickly, and destroy the countermeasures that other country has, the problem is that other countries, if they get wind of it, would have to attack preemptively, causing a nuclear war. It'd be the same as ground-based countermeasures. For instance, if we developed 95% effective anti-missile systems, and we could deploy them, energy-based, railguns, what the fuck ever. If we were able to deploy them widely enough, eventually it would antagonize the foe into thinking that you were planning to attack them. They would then have an incentive to attack you. You wouldn't even be able to blame them. You're not even developing a weapon. You're just developing countermeasures that destabilize mutually assured destruction. That's why when we see the Obama admin first defunding the space program by and large, Elon Musk comes along to take up the dead weight. Trump reinvests. Now you see Elon Musk, who is the only person with the wealth and finesse, basically, to actually make up for lost time and boost our space presence, being attacked by Biden's regulatory apparatus. Elon Musk, because of his tacit support, if not for Trump, but at least for populistic-style economic policies, which is going to make him money, he's decided to be the odd man out among the billionaires, and he's reaping the rewards. He's being abused by the U.S. government. Joe Biden has weaponized the regulatory system to go after Elon Musk, and it is incredibly dangerous. Every stop should be pulled out in the space race, in my opinion. Also, think of the economic long-term rewards. If we could lasso one significant enough chunk of iron-rich meteorite, a few miles wide or something, bring it into close orbit around the Earth with rockets or whatever, and then mine it, or even find a way to slowly lower it down to Earth or chop it into pieces and let it rain down in the desert somewhere, you could boost your industrial output by a massive proportion, essentially. You could have limitless metal. Some of these things, there's a huge amount of gold, platinum, all sorts of stuff in space that are relatively scarce on Earth. If China manages to do that first, the economic boom that it would create would completely outpace the ability of the entire West to deal with it. You could also see a country that's less prudent, potentially, for example, what if they bring down a chunk of rock that contains 10 times as much gold as all the stocks on Earth? What happens to the price of gold? That's going to be a problem because it props up so many investments and opportunities. I think that unfortunately space warfare is close to inevitable. Biden is attacking the one man who's made the most private sector progress of all people in the race for developing better rockets, reusable rockets, putting the first car into space, which was definitely a publicity stunt, and Biden is attacking him. I think that's incredibly dangerous. That's about all. Peace out.